Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. It's me, Chrissie Mayr. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us on iTunes right now, please go and leave a 5-star review. For example, God, there's just so many fresh new reviews that have come in that I love. And I appreciate each one. I want to laminate them and put them in my closet. Okay, here's a great review from Absolutely Bran. Lots of laughs and information. Great podcast that has me laughing frequently, plus has great guests and content. Simple, to the point. Thanks, Absolutely Bran. I appreciate the reviews so much, guys. Very excited to talk to you guys about our sponsors for the show. Dun, dun, dun. It's One Soul, baby. If you guys are thinking about maybe starting to travel again, maybe you're thinking, I need to get out, I need to get some trips down, One Soul is the shoe for you. And sorry, guys, this one is for the ladies. This is One Soul. It's the original interchangeable shoe. Basically, this is the problem we all have when us gals pack for a trip. We're like, well, I got to bring a black pair for the black dress and a brown pair and some wedges in case I'm like casual. So we end up with like 3-4 pairs of shoes in our luggage, and it takes up a ton of room. So basically, One Soul alleviates this problem. It's basically One Soul, and then tons of these very cool interchangeable tops. Again, like pretty affordable, not even like crazy. You're not even going to be like breaking the bank on these puppies. And the sole that they're most known for their neoprene sole. So like it's right here and it fits your foot like a glove. Very, very comfy. I'm definitely a big fan of them. I love that they sent me like these. I'm going to put it back on myself. I love that they sent me this like trial shoe and it has got Trump on it. Like, I'm like, this is great. I wish I had the other one, but it just snaps. So here's the black one. It's like a black wedge. And then they have this quirky looking wedge. And this is like night out. This is really perfect. And it just snaps on and off like super easy as I struggle with it. Snaps off super easy. And you can create a totally different new shoe look within seconds. And then poof, if you want to put this one that looks like I'm a mom in Florida on, you snap it right on and then you're ready to go. This is great. And for all my CMP listeners, just go to the website here. It is called onesoulshoe.com and use the promo code CMP. You're going to get 25% off these little betties. 25%. That's a fourth for all my people who suck at math. Look, and it's on. Ready to hit the town. Ready to paint the town red. onesoulshoe.com. Use the promo code CMP. Get your order for 25% off. This is great. They've got holiday stuff. You look at this. Sparkly. Man, I want to go out again. I don't know about you guys. Also, this episode is brought to you by Cushy Dreams. You know them, you love them. They're my kind of go-to CBD source. Cushy Dreams specializes in a full lineup of premium smokable CBD. They have these extraordinary CBD-rich hemp flower, aka bud, that they have in cans. It's like vacuum sealed for your flavor and protection. And also, they have these really wonderful like pre-roll joints here. I love it because I just like instantly feel calmer. My head is calmer. In fact, I should be lighting some up right now because I like rushed to do this pod. I'm like kind of moving this week and things are crazy. And like my turtle almost died a couple weeks ago. I'm still sort of reeling from that. So I like to light up a little CBD joint whenever I feel anxious, and then I feel like amazing 5 minutes later. It's cannabis. It ships directly to you. It's legal in all 50 states. Join the men and women who are sick of vapes, sick of gummies, and they want to smoke their CBD. Again, this stuff, it looks, feels, smells just like high quality marijuana, but it's not. It's not going to take you to La La Land. You're not going to get super high and weird and, your boyfriend's going to come home from work and be like, what have you done all day? And you're going to be like, wee. It's not going to be like that, okay? Because I've had plenty of days like that. 100% hand trimmed, never machine trimmed. They take the artisan approach. Every run is in a small batch. They're constantly doing tests to ensure compliance and purity. And all this can be found on their website, cushydreams.com. Grown here in the USA. That's probably my favorite part. And they've got several different strains for whatever kind of a day you want to have that are like, some are indica, some are more sativa, and these strands have different names like hustle, energy, peace, dream, create. I love it. I love it, guys. Go to gushydreams.com. Get your high quality CBD bud at the checkout. Use promo code CMP. You're going to get 20% off every single order, plus free shipping. Guys, I don't know what's better than that. Actually, I do know what's better than that is our guest, which I'm so thrilled to have her on today. Oh, also, I want to talk to you guys about dates. I am coming to, when is this coming out? Yeah, I'm going to be in Texas performing at Hyenas in Dallas February 19th and 20th. And then I'm going to be with Comedians of the Compound. We'll be performing at the SoulJoel Comedy Club February 26th. That's in Royersford, Pennsylvania. And then I'm going to be headlining the Stress Factory in New Brunswick, New Jersey on, I think that's Sunday, February 28th. And then I'm coming to Florida. Hello, time to wear these. I'm going to be in Florida April 30th and May 1st in Palm Beach and Boca. Got lots of dates coming up, and we'll be touring with Tim Young, super funny guy, kind of a jazzy, spicy political personality as well. But I got a lot of spring dates coming up with Tim, and all of those can be found on my website, ChrissieMayr.com. Blah, blah, blah. Stand-up comedy. It's back, guys. It's happening. You know what else is happening? Our guest. I met her. I saw her on Tinfoil Hat podcast, and I was like, I must have her. She must be mine. And here she is today with us. She is an Akashic record reader and a psychic activation coach, although she doesn't really like the word coach because it is a bit overused right now. It's Amy Belair. How are you?
I'm great, Chrissy. The audio just suddenly went really terrible while you were reading all of the ads. So I don't know if I should stop my camera. I know you're on YouTube and that's super boring, but what do you think? Does that usually happen?
No, I mean, I think you look good now. I think you look fine. Do you want to just see how it goes? Because sometimes in the past where I've had people's camera freeze, and sometimes it's funny, like Stuttering John, but then other times it's like you can just reset it, or I can take you out of the room and then put you back and it comes back to life. So I think we should go with it.
Okay. It cleared up. It was really, really where you sound choppy and mechanical and all of your movements, weird robotic movements. But let's just see what happens.
Okay, cool. So Amy, I want to know, how did you get into because this is very specific. You're not just some gal who's into astrology, because those are a dime a dozen. It's like this I've never even heard of before. So, what is an Akashic record reader, and how did you get into this?
So, I guess, an Akashic record reader, to boil it down, super, super boily, all the way down, is just somebody who's reading your energy field. But the Akashic records specifically are sort of the history and the past, present, future of your soul. Although the future is there's many iterations of the future. So really it's a high vibrational field of consciousness that kind of retains an imprint of everything that you've ever experienced as a consciousness. And, it's especially helpful, I think, for people who keep repeating the same pattern over and over, for example, and they're really doing the work to shift it, or they're trying, or they can't figure out where it came from, why this keeps happening to them. It just sort of gives a few extra pieces of the puzzle so you can really see the picture better and know where to focus your efforts. And I got into it basically after my son died. So my newborn son died almost 5 years ago. And I was, of course, devastated by it and really, really bothered by the question of why did this happen? Why did this happen? And my brain kept assuming that it was because I'm an asshole and I deserve it and I did something wrong. And it would just repeatedly go through all of the things that I might have done to cause it. And it felt like, on top of already going through that grief, having my brain constantly attacking me it just made it so much worse. And I heard about the Akashic records on a podcast. I had always been interested in everything to do with psychic abilities and, non-physical information. So I heard the words Akashic Records and I was like, what is that? I have to find out what that is. It just felt like, I don't know, like a light bulb went on and there was a big arrow, a neon arrow, like go down this road. So I looked into it. I found the person on the podcast mentioned she had learned through Jennifer Longmore, whose her website is souljourneys.ca. And she has a self-study system. And that was the only one I knew of. I knew there were books about it, but it just didn't appeal to me. So I enrolled in her system, which was the first big investment I ever made in myself in this capacity, and learned how to do it. And I went in with the big guns and asked that question, like, why did my son die? And I was so prepared to receive whatever answer came through. Like, I just felt like nothing could be worse than how I was feeling. And, even if it was like, you're a terrible soul and you deserve to be punished, it just felt like at least I would know. And that would be easier to deal with. And I could get on with like atoning for whatever. So, but I got an answer that was so immediately and instantaneously healing that really did not resemble anything like what my brain had been telling me, that actually there was a whole beautiful reason behind all of it, and that it was, of course, nonetheless painful, and I still continued to grieve, but I just was able to move on in a way that feels unburdened. Like, I'll still always be heartbroken by it, but I don't feel diminished by it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it sounds like you were going into it. I don't want to even say like masochism, like when you want like bad things. I don't know, when you want bad things for yourself, but it's almost like you were so ready to be told that you were a bad person or a bad soul, or like had been a terrible person in a past life or something. And like, I don't know, that takes a lot of strength to be able to be ready to hear like, yeah, something that my lifetime isn't even responsible for is why, this baby didn't make it. And you're thinking like, oh, it has to be karma. Because most people understand like the basic principle of karma, like whatever you do comes back to you. So you had learned that basically this was like your baby's, like the purpose of his soul. This was basically supposed to happen, and it was supposed to happen in this way so that both he and you could learn certain lessons and grow from it. And basically like the under the umbrella of like very much meant to be, and you didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, exactly. That it wasn't a punishment for either of us. And it was kind of like, it also enhanced my understanding of karma, where it's never a punishment. It's just that energy needs to seek its own balance. So if you have an experience that gives you a certain perspective, your soul naturally, your consciousness wants to also experience the other perspective. So that it can have a well-rounded understanding of that, embodied human, because the human experience on its own is so weird, and it's so full. And if we only ever receive it from one side, it's kind of like, I gave the example recently of like, if you've ever had your heart broken, but you've never been the heartbreaker, then you think that the heartbreaker is a dick. Always. You feel really sorry for yourself. You take it super personally. But once you're in the position of being the heartbreaker, you understand how complicated it is, and how you don't, you're not necessarily just the bad guy. And even when you are the bad guy, there's usually so many variables that contribute to that. It just rounds out your understanding so much better. So he wanted an experience that would round out his understanding, his soul consciousness. And he asked my husband and I to do this, and we agreed, and he gave us multiple outs that we did not take the whole time. And that really shifted things for both my husband and I, where again, it's not like it makes it all better and there's no pain associated with it anymore, but I don't feel crippled by it, I guess, the way that I used to.
Did you guys, was that like, did you try to have another child after that? Or you just, after that happened, you were just like, okay, that's it?
He was like, that's it. I need to have another child. And that was really, really, really challenging. But we have a beautiful daughter who's going to be 3 in June,
Aw.
and we're expecting another one in July. So
Oh, yay. Oh my gosh, that's great. Wow. I mean, I can't imagine, are you going to tell this story to your kids, like if ever it comes up?
I think so. Like we have pictures of him up. Like when we have a little table that has his, like the nurses made a beautiful casting of his tiny little perfect feet for us and
Oh,
all that. And I can't pack that away in a box. It just feels weird to me personally. So we have it out, and I'm sure when she's old enough to ask, I'll tell her. And I also have a son who's 16, and he was like there for all of it. And he and I talk about it when it comes up. So
oh wow.
yeah.
That's really great. And I just like I'm trying to understand. So, who gave you your first like Akashic reading? Was it this Jennifer from the Soul Journey website that you mentioned?
Nope, she had like a self-paced home study
Okay.
course, which was a recording of like a live round that she did, and I gave myself my first Akashic reading. Mhm.
Wow, that seems like a lot. I mean, that seems just like, how did you know? Like, how did you know what to do? Did you just have to get so into like a meditative state basically and be like, I mean, you have to, like, this doesn't seem like a beginner's move. Like, I'm sure, like, have you already been like meditating and already like amazing, like huge self awareness, being able to like just be still and like you have to get to a place where you can receive that kind of information.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it marked the point where I really took it off the back burner as like a closeted, secret interest I had, and put it on the front burner. But I had always like I think it was probably when I was 15 or 16 I got super into astrology. And then from there it just like I got into a whole bunch of other things, but I wasn't a very practiced meditator. But I think through the process of pursuing all those interests, I had cultivated quite a lot of self-awareness, and it was enough. It was enough anyway. I think honestly, the power of my question made it so that I could focus enough to go in and find an answer. And then the subsequent few times that I went in with weaker, like questions with a weaker power behind them, felt really flimsy and crappy in comparison. Like not much happened. So
Yeah.
I also kind of learned how to like finesse my energy to be able to keep doing it.
So in a way, are you kind of like a channeler, like along the lines of like an Abraham Hicks type? You know, are you familiar with her? Her name's Esther. Yeah, she goes by Esther, but I think like the source information she channels, I think is called Abraham. I don't know. This must sound very confusing and crazy to people listening, but um, so yeah, do you kind of identify as like a channeler, or do you try not to get bogged down with titles? And I also want to know, what did it feel like to like receive this information?
Yeah. So the first thing, I mean, I do channel stuff, and I think it's cool that that term is becoming a little bit more popular because it sort of expands our perception of what it means to receive psychic information, that it's not all like having a crystal ball and predicting people's future. It's often just like being able to see with clarity the bigger picture, or hear it or whatever. There's a whole bunch of different ways we receive information. But for me, it tends to come through as just a knowing, which I've always had, like just a whole body where I'm like, yeah, that is true. But then it filters down through my third eye, but it just sort of presents like in my mind. Like I'm not somebody that sees ghosts outside of me, which is why I thought for a long time that I wasn't psychic, even though I was having crazy experiences because they weren't outside of me. I thought they didn't count or something. And it took me a long time to figure out that happens for some people, but it's not always how it works. And that also, Hollywood is doing its best to try and depict, stuff that's very abstract and hard to pin down. And that really, like, I shouldn't go based off of TV shows and movies. psychic experiences are like.
So what you were saying is, yeah, because you expected a psychic experience to be almost, is it like almost like an out of body, almost like a trip, like you're on drugs and you're like, look at my hand, or like
Yeah,
it wasn't, it was more like subtle and internal.
Yes, super subtle. It's still super subtle. I've just gotten better at receiving it and not doubting it. Like, just so when I'm doing readings for people, for example, it's still just as subtle as it ever was. It's just that I'm so good at putting myself aside and just telling people what I'm getting and letting them make of it what they will. And the only way I could get there was just by practicing and being willing to be wrong and be a total, feel like a total fool. But then in exchange, I got a whole bunch of validation that, oh, this is accurate and this feels relevant and this really moves things for me. And a lot of it, of course, is unverifiable. Like when we go into people's past lives, I always take it with a grain of salt because usually I can't verify it. I don't get so specific that I get dates. Sometimes I get specific towns or locations, but and names, but it's nothing that you could go through a census and pin down. So I'm always saying, like, for all I know, it's just my brain attaching symbolism to the underlying energy. But the important thing is that it moves something in you, so you don't feel stuck in the same pattern or limited by the same thing that you felt when you were coming into it. And, usually people have a catharsis, or they feel really like, wow, I really understand things better now. And, who knows if the past lives are real? I really don't know, but that's how it's presenting itself through my psyche.
Yeah, this makes so much sense to me because I've always understood that when patterns happen in your life, like if you're a girl who's like, oh, I always date the same kind of asshole guy, like what is with that? Do I have a type? Or it's like, why do I gravitate towards the same guy all the time? Or like, why do I always react the same way when I feel rejected? Why do I always do this when I'm angry? It's like, I think that we can learn from our patterns, like through therapy or like different different like modalities. I don't even know if that's the right word, but I think the patterns come into our life so we can like learn about ourselves. And it's almost like we're not going to move on unless you address, like, the pattern is just a lesson that keeps showing up for you. And until you learn that lesson, you will continue to have that pattern. And it seems almost like this, like an Akashic record is a way for you to be like, oh, this is why this pattern is occurring.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And
instead of you just wasting 20 years, like dating all these horrible dudes. You're like, God damn
exactly.
it.
I'm thinking it's because you're not like pretty enough, or your one boob is bigger than the other, or, whatever, like weird things we tell ourselves it actually is, when it's not that at all.
What do you say to people who say that this stuff is bullshit, that like, people who believe in past lives or energies, and like, this is so not me, but I know people like this that are like, oh, it's, it's always a guy who doesn't believe in astrology or something, but like, you don't throw all that up to the universe. It's up to you. You make your choices. There are a lot of folks who believe that like spirituality and, this kind of, whether it's like reading a chart or reading a Akashic record, like that's somehow a way to get out of your own responsibility and your own choices,
Yeah. Well, luckily, I haven't really had anybody try and get into an argument with me about it, but I will say that most of the people in my physical real world life totally don't get what I'm doing. And that held me back for a long time, the fear of their judgment. And it just doesn't anymore. It really doesn't matter to me if they understand it or not. But for the people who don't get it and would say that it's bullshit, I just feel like you're totally entitled to believe that, and that's fine. And to me, there's just so much more information than our conscious, like, we know this, our conscious mind can't process all the information that's coming at us at all times. It's regulating what we perceive and file away. And that's where a lot of the stuff goes to our subconscious. And then there's probably a ton of information that we just don't even process. We don't acknowledge it in any way because it's just way too much. We're constantly being bombarded with information. And I believe that a lot of that is physical, meaning that it is manifested in some way that interacts with our senses by producing electrochemical signals that get processed by our brain through our five senses. But I also think a lot of the energy hasn't slowed down into any kind of physical manifestation yet. And we're still interacting with it. And that's what these kind of things are. But also we're super intelligent beings, and like astrology is based on like archetypes and basically like teasing apart the different archetypes that affect our lives and those different energies and the areas in our life that we do. And like, if you want to shut all that out, be my guest. But I dated a guy that was totally like that. I think that was the last time I ever had to deal with somebody who was like that. It was the worst. I don't know what I was thinking.
What was he? What was his sign?
Oh, he was a Leo, and he was like the worst Leo. Like, I'm
Classic
a Leo. I love Leo.
Because they're fun and peacocky and performative and like confident and proud. Yeah.
Yeah. And arrogant when they are not in their highest expression.
Mm-hmm.
And he totally thought this was all bullshit. And I was like, well, you told me the whole reason you want to date me is because your life is boring and gray, and I am colorful and beautiful and vivid. So
yes. Yeah. You said you liked because I was a kooky bitch.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's so neat. I'm thinking like, right, because humans, we've evolved. And for example, like our primary basic needs as humans is like food, shelter, sex, right? So those are going to be the things that we feel the most strongly. And then things like, I don't know, feeling the energy of the plants next to us, or feeling the energy in the air, or like maybe feeling, it's like, yeah, you have your gut reaction, right? If you're like walking past a dangerous person in New York City, you're like, oh, this person's fucking crazy. Like you can feel that. And maybe just a person with maybe a more subtle neutral energy next to you, it doesn't jump out to you as much. But there's also even people who walk past that crazy person and can't feel it because they're in their own world, right? So those are like the things that are easier to feel, whereas like this more subtle perception of like maybe just the life around us, like this box next to me has energy, like but that's something I got into more so this year, is like really like feeling the energy of my houseplants. I know that sounds fucking kooky, but I think like once our basic human needs are fulfilled, then we can get into like, okay, what's deeper? Like, why would you not want to go into the middle of a field and just like see what you can feel, right? Is this at all what you're talking about? So it's like, I think it's our job as humans to like, why not feel as much as you can feel and reach your potential mentally, physically, spiritually, and just like expand as much as you can.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it really is just about detecting more subtle energy, because when we receive things through our five senses, it's much more concrete. And so that's the place where I think a lot of people get fooled into thinking that this is the only thing that's real, because we can interact with it through our physical senses. But it's not the only thing that's real. And like, how did it ever get to be here? It wasn't always like this. Everything, like my table that I'm sitting at was previously a tree. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, everything is so much more than we perceive it to be. But we also get really distracted, especially in our culture. Like, we're so distracted away from sensing those subtle energies. And that's really one of the gifts that my son gave me, because I was in so much pain after losing him, that I wanted to be available to connect with him in any way. Like, he had come to me during the pregnancy, and even before he was conceived, I knew his personality was there. And it was the same with my oldest son, and same with the baby I'm pregnant with now, and the same with my daughter. And so I wanted to be able to connect with that. And in order to do that, I just shut so many things out. I just had to make myself available to perceive subtle energy, and it paid off.
That's fucking crazy. Like, that's amazing that you're able to be pregnant and you can feel the personality. And I know, like, my mom, I remember she would tell me, she'd be like, oh, I knew your personality right away. But I assume that's like when I came out, and I was like, she would say like, Chrissy, you would like I'd be breastfeeding you, and then you chomp down, look up, and then laugh at me. And she's like, then I knew you were like gonna be a shit starter. But that's why I'm so amazed at like women and mothers, and just the fact that you can perceive a personality in the womb still. That blows my mind.
Yeah, I think a lot of women do. Like I used to be a midwife and I found that was true for a lot of women. And I think it's partly like part of the survival mechanism, because in order to be responsible for the survival of this nonverbal, vulnerable creature, you have to be psychically linked to them. You have to be able to connect with them on very subtle levels. And it's like hardwired into us.
What you mentioned before, the different ways in which we receive information. Like, could you expand on that a little bit more?
Mm-hmm. So there's something called the four clairs, and I even think that's can be a little bit boxy and limited.
4 eclairs? We're talking pastries?
Four clairs, 4 clear areas of receiving information.
Okay.
So the first one, I always think of it as the first one because it's kind of coming down from your crown, is claircognizance. And it's just that knowing. And a lot of people have that and you don't realize you have it because it's so natural to you that you just never stop and think about it. But it's where when so for example, somebody's talking to you, they're totally acting normal, but something's up. You know that, and you just know it. It's not, and maybe they don't even know it yet. And maybe they haven't acknowledged, or they haven't received the text message where they're dumped or something like that. You just know something's up. Or you're watching a show and you hear an explanation about something and you know it's wrong. You just know it.
Ooh, okay.
So that's claircognizance. It's just a profound knowing. And then the next one is clairvoyance, and that one filters through our third eye or our pineal gland, and it kind of disseminates usually through our imagination. And some people will be able to see things sort of manifesting outside of them, but a lot of people just receive it through their imagination. So it's kind of like
kids drawing, like a kid like just drawing, or
yeah. Or like a movie playing out. So like if I'm seeing somebody's past life, I'm seeing the character that they were, like the costume they were in. I can kind of place where they are in the world and in history. But it's all in my imagination. It just feels like mental images. And then the next one is clairaudience. And that's where people hear things. It can sound like a voice outside of them, or it can sound like a voice in their mind. And sometimes it's in their own voice, but sometimes it's a separate voice.
Wow.
And they'll also often be really drawn to things like toning, singing, music. Like they might get a lot of messages through song lyrics. Like music is really important to them. And it's also attached to channeling. So being able to receive words like Esther Hicks, and she's probably claircognizant, like receives them in her brain, and then they turn into words and go out through her throat. And then the other one is clairsentience. And to me, sometimes people call this one being empathic, but to me, it's a little bit different, where it's like you feel sensations in your body associated with certain information. So you might get, like, for example, people will probably understand, like when you get a Reiki, like you're attuned to do Reiki.
I love Reiki.
And a tingling in your hands. And that's like clairsentience. Or some people really will feel like if somebody else has, bad gastrointestinal problems and they're nearby them, they'll feel stomach aches, or, they just get like body level sensations. And that one, I find a lot of people have a hard time figuring out what it means. Cause like if you get a weird, like ringing in your ear, it takes a while to make the association. Like when this happens, I'm near this person, or I'm getting that kind of information, or something like this happens next. It's a little bit harder to connect those dots, I think. And
yeah.
The other one is being empathic, but I think we all are. I really do. I think like we all feel each other's emotions. It's just part of being a human and being social creatures. But some people are way more sensitive to it than others. Like they don't have a strong boundary, so they get really affected by other people's emotional energy.
Yes. Like I've talked about this on other episodes, but like growing up, like I feel like I was that very much for my mom and my sister, like later on, but very much like had to take care of their emotions. If they were in a bad mood, like that's where my sense of humor grew. It's like I could be funny and perk them up again. If mom and dad got in a fight and mom was just like depressed or whatever, it's like, oh, I got to boost her up. Like I would be so in tune to like sensing her emotions and then wanting to perk her up, that would be like my whole focus. And then over time, this is what I learned in therapy, is like it was easier for me to like fulfill somebody else's needs than like listen to my own. And I would completely disregard like my own needs and like what I wanted. It just was like so on the back burner. I'd be like, oh no, like it's easier to make the person next to you happy than it is to be like, well, what do I really want? Because you think like, oh, I'll do my own stuff like on my own time, you know, like I'll take care of that later. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think when you're a kid, like your needs are that your home is a harmonious environment. So you were taking care of your needs in a way by detecting what your mom was experiencing and trying to like switch that over so that you could feel comfortable in the space too, right?
Right, because it's like as a kid you develop these patterns, like it's their survival like
Yeah.
mechanisms, right? So, and that's part of like your journey as an adult is sloughing off the like, okay, what patterns do I no longer need? Because like I'm safe, I'm in a better place now. It's like you don't need these people for survival. And so I just find all that stuff super fascinating. So I thought it would be interesting for the listeners to hear, like maybe if you could take me through a little bit of what you do so people could get a sense of what it's like, and then maybe afterwards they think, oh, that sounds not like cool, maybe I would like to have that done. They can hit you up. So like I mentioned before we started recording, I was like, I feel so weird because I haven't like given you any information in advance. Like I had a guy on and he did my chart reading, which was fascinating because he was able to tell me that because of where I am in my nodal return, like it all basically points to podcasting and like fighting for free speech through podcasting and comedy. Like it blew me away how like on point it was, like for this time in my life, like starting from last May to sometime next year. I was like, it was just so amazing. But I had to give him like, yeah, my birthday, my birth time, the town I was born in, and I didn't give you any information. So I just feel like we're going in dry here.
That's how it always goes. You just have to give me questions so that I can, because sometimes like I could go in and I could pull out information, but will it feel relevant to you? Maybe not. It's kind of like going to, do a Google search or a DuckDuckGo search and just being like, oh, something interesting, like a really vague question, then you're going to get very vague search results. Whereas if you have a specific question, you'll get answers that are relevant.
Huh. Okay. So what's a good question? So these are questions about like what my past lives were like, right? So
Anything. It doesn't have to like. A lot of people ask about their soul purpose. They ask about next moves in business. They ask about why this pattern keeps showing up, what they need to do to shift it, why they have this weird tense relationship with this person no matter what they do. Or
ooh, okay. We could start. Okay. We could definitely start with like why I have it. I mean, I feel like I know why I have a tense relationship with my dad. I feel like, but I don't know. I guess I want to know if there's something more behind that. Your classic person would be like, you have daddy issues, but it's like, I don't know. And I feel like I could keep talking about it, but I just say, I wonder if there's something more going on, or like what am I presenting to my dad that's like such a challenge for him, I guess, or if there's more information about like the two of us. And if this is a bad question, I'll pick another one.
No, that's a good question. If there's like sort of any haziness when I go in, then I'll just ask you a couple questions to tighten it up, but I'll go in and see. So there's going to be a weird blank spot where I'm just kind of tuning in and getting some.
Ooh, okay.
Is your dad triggered by your life choices and your kind of success and your visibility at all? Does he make comments about not necessarily, I don't know, it's a little bit shaming, but it's just like, it's more like it just triggers him for some reason.
I've wondered that because at times he said things to me like, oh, like you're doing what you want to do, like almost like I'm
a jerk for it.
But kind of, but it's like I worked really, really hard to do what I want to do. You know, I had to like really fight for it. And I've had like 15 day jobs. You know what I mean? It's like it's not like this all came so easy. Like I feel like I fight to do this every single day. And he definitely could have. It's almost like I feel like he didn't do what he wanted to do, and so you know it's everybody's fault because he had to raise a family, and like, but it's like nobody dragged you into this, buddy. It's like you willingly got married and had kids, you know?
Yeah. So what immediately is coming forward is a life where I'm not really sure when it is, but it might clarify itself. So basically, he is kind of like, I don't know, like a lumberjack, or he worked at like a mine,
Yeah,
like a very blue collar kind of dude. And he was like,
he was a landscaper. He was a landscaper growing up. Like when I was growing up, he was a landscaper, and then yeah.
And in this life, the two of you had kind of a romantic relationship, which is probably weird.
Wait, this is a past life?
Yeah, it was a past life.
Oh no!
And I know
Amy!
it's weird to hear. I'm sorry. But it was kind of like, so you were like, it's very similar to The Notebook. Very, very similar. Where you were from a higher class family, but you had, chemistry and whatever. But it was different insofar as like he has an energy of being resentful and angry because you got betrothed to somebody else. It's not exactly like The Notebook, but similar. Like he was like a handsome boy who was working class, below your status. Of course, your family's never going to let you marry him.
Wow.
And it didn't even go that far. Like you didn't almost do it in some abandoned house or anything like that. It was just sort of like the flirtation, and like it was still proprietary for the time period. And it just really hurt his feelings that like he kind of let himself believe that he could up jump to your level, or you could meet each other halfway. And it was like you were just teenagers, like maybe 17 or 18. And he forever stayed working in that place and married somebody that was of his, social standing, and that he didn't really feel connected to. And he just had this idea that you went off and lived this fancy, highfalutin life without him, and that you were too good for him the whole time anyway. You were just leading him on. Like he kind of had these stories he created to calm down his ego, but it didn't calm down. It just inflamed his ego and his anger even more. But it feels like that's really held over, where he has like a resentment energy towards you. And he's like using your career choices and your visibility as sort of like it's the thing that triggers him, but it's not actually about that. But it is that part of like you said, where he like, you get to do what you want to do, and I never got to do what I want to do. But really, feeling of being left behind, that's what is underneath it all.
Wow, that's so interesting, because that's like that was his whole song and dance growing up. Like, when is it going to be my turn? I must have heard him say that like hundreds of times. Like, and I was like, buddy, and it's like, as an adult, I know like every day is an opportunity to do what you want, and you're not. I don't know. It was like this typical, we watched a lot of Married with Children growing up, like, and like just the tropes of like the husband who is miserable and the wife who just like takes his money, and like nobody's happy. And it's like, I don't know if this is just like TV in the 80s or the 90s, but like in The Simpsons too, it's just like, so I just grew up thinking like, oh, husbands are miserable to be married, and they don't actually want to be there, and they don't actually like the kids are kind of a burden. So I don't know. I just was like, he was very much, it's just so wild to me, the idea that like, so we're talking about in our past life, like my soul, my dad's soul, like, and we don't know when this is, right? It could be hundreds of years ago, or it could be.
It feels like it was probably in the early 1900s or late 1800s. That's what it kind of looks like for the machines. That I can see his work yard really clearly and see him really clearly. And you were kind of like, I'm not choosing this. Somebody's choosing it for me. And that made him even more angry. Like, I don't know. You both just felt sort of disempowered. But anyway.
That's interesting because he was a landscaper growing up, and then he eventually, because he always very good, like fixing stuff, great with his hands, fixing stuff, not so great with like, talking to you. So,
yeah.
All right. So now I want to know, okay, I guess we could get into like soul purpose or, what, like, maybe patterns I have, or like fights, or like, why I feel like my whole 20s felt extremely difficult.
Me too.
Like extremely, like just everyone's like, oh, it's fun, best time of your life, oh, college, like all that stuff. I'm like, no, that all felt so hard. Like, and I don't know if that's just more common than I realized, but yeah, I wonder if you can see anything like in terms of like patterns or deep struggles or like lessons or purpose, or if that's too general, I'll think of something else.
Yeah, well, let's just hone in on it a little bit. So like, is there any particular pattern that you feel hasn't been resolved completely that you're wondering about, or where it comes from, or anything like that?
Yeah, like I definitely struggle with low self-esteem issues, and like I work pretty hard. Like last few years, I've definitely upped my game with like working harder and achieving more. And even as a little girl, like I would get most of my like self-esteem from achievements because I was really good. I was like a good athlete. So, but even as an adult, I still struggle with like this self-esteem core thing. So I don't know if that's something to look into more.
Okay. I mean, this one feels like it more has to do with this life. It feels like I'm just seeing you as a little kid and feeling like so much of your experience, like the attention that you wanted, was constantly diverted towards just the, I don't know, the fuckery of family dynamics and things like that. And it feels like it's just those little moments when you are just sort of being cute or whatever. You're just being a little kid and you're making these small achievements, and you really wish that your parents would notice, because what more do you want as a little kid but to be seen and appreciated? And those weren't happening. But you started to figure out that because you were really capable, if you achieved a bunch of things, then temporarily they would sort of divert their attention back to you and celebrate you. And that really is where it feels like the knot is. It doesn't so much feel like it's coming from a past life, more like it was like a survival pattern that you created so that you could get, and then it sort of built on itself. So it feels like it originally started being pretty little, and it almost feels like your pictures that you brought home from school were kind of like momentarily like, oh, like, well done or whatever, and put on the fridge, but then really quickly forgotten. And so you kind of,
oh my God,
had to up the ante and like really dazzle people to get to get
Yeah, like Amy, oftentimes the drawings would not even make it to the fridge. I felt like unworthy of the fridge. Like they would be on the drawings would be on the table, and then there'd be like lots of other papers on top of them, and then they get scooted away. And then like I got really into art in high school and like paintings, like cool shit. But that was they're not gonna hang stuff up. Like it was always like just in the basement in a corner. So the message there was like, oh, you're just not good enough. Like keep working, like work harder till you make something worthy of the wall space.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And like your achievements are not important enough to break my own self-absorption with my dramas that I'm embroiled in.
ooh, that's interesting. Okay. All right, cool. Let me see if I can find. Okay, let's hone in on like maybe soul purpose, or I want to like know about something that is potentially maybe far back, but obviously I guess you won't know that till you feel it, and you won't feel it till I have a good question. So yeah, soul purpose, maybe deep gifts, or how can I best like be of service to humanity?
Okay. I don't know if you know this about yourself, but you're able to craft a really good argument. You could have been a lawyer.
Ooh.
You're able to take in like the way somebody is presenting information and see the chinks in the armor, especially if they're kind of lying or misrepresenting. And you're really good at crafting like
A response, like for a witty response on Twitter.
Sure.
I could have been a lawyer or great on Twitter.
The point is it's verbal, so you can convey it, because some people can see that. Like I can see it and I can't assemble words too. So I don't even bother getting in arguments with people. But you are able to argue. And one of the other things, so you really are living your soul purpose right now, which I think you probably know because it probably feels really good and in alignment, like being visible, being a performer, but sort of centering like intelligence and humor as your main vehicles, or I don't know, not necessarily vehicle, but your main forms of expression. But the other thing that you really can do, and you're maybe already doing this, I guess through your podcast, really, you are a very bright soul. So not bright like intelligent, you are intelligent, but like bright like light coming off of you. And you're not supposed to be hidden at all. That wasn't your intention in this life. And that's part of where that high achieving thing comes from too, is it was like, you always meant to be seen. And so of course, then you crave it extra to have people be like, I see you, I see what you're doing. I see the incredible achievements. But you also have this beautiful gift of picking other people up who aren't quite there yet and bringing them up with you so that other people are seen too. You're very, very willing to share the spotlight. And that's one of the, that's a big service to humanity, because you don't have any of that like competition energy in you that I feel when I'm sometimes working with people who are in any form of performance or show business. You don't have that energy of like, I've carved out this spot and it's mine and you can't, your competition. You're much more open in your energy field and much more like the more the merrier. And you really are working towards illuminating the truth, but kind of in an indirect way, where you're illuminating the truth through elevating other people and sharing your spotlight on their brilliance as well, so that it's kind of comes to the surface that we're all really brilliant. I don't know if that's making good sense to you.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely on the competition thing. And I didn't know if this was like just a getting older thing, but yeah, even when I started in comedy, like, yeah, maybe first couple years, you're like, oh, am I gonna get good at this? Like, where are my strengths? Like, what is my whatever voice? But um, yeah, as I got older, I just was like, oh, I'm truly only in competition with like me from last year and like me from 2 years ago. And like started marking down, okay, like how much am I making? What goals am I achieving? You need to make your goal list every year. And sometimes you forget, it's like February now. So it's like, whoops, so much for meditating every day, but I'll get back on it. I swear. But just like I've always known, I feel like that, like, it's just so fruitless and a waste of time to compete with somebody else because like you just, their strengths are not your strengths, your purpose is not their purpose, and there's also no lack of opportunity. Like, and when you operate from a place of like lack of opportunity, it's like you make your whole world small. It's just you're closing yourself off and you're not.
Yeah, that's it. That's the thing. You just articulated the thing I was struggling to articulate, is that it really is unique, and you, like, it's not like you're the only person that sees it that way, but it's still pretty uncommon. And to be operating from that place in a really otherwise competitive and often really low vibe industry is a huge, huge service, where you're bringing in doing that, you're able to sort of carve a path and expand the stage for more and more people who similarly have like really brilliant things to share, and you don't feel diminished by it. And that is a really, really it's really advancing humanity out of the old paradigm of being all out for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Right, because we're all part of the same energy. Like we really are all one, like all of humanity. And like, yeah, of course, like I will forget that when I'm like, in traffic cursing somebody off. But like
Of course.
When it comes to like creative, whatever, the idea of creative competition, it's like that's not like I look at my peers who are doing well, or they have a success, or they get on a show. I'm like, oh great, like we're all doing well. Like they're, it's just like I do feel like it's the more the merrier. And I feel like since I found my success not through the tried and true way. I totally like, dug out a new path. That's like, oh yeah, I'm living proof for why you shouldn't get hung up in like the normal way. Like, oh, getting on late night, getting a Comedy Central half hour. It's like none of that stuff was happening for me. So I was just like, all right, let's keep knocking around until we find something that works, or we'll find fans that work,
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, that's really cool. Okay. What I feel like I don't know what other questions to ask.
And in the normal Akashic reading, like we would be going a lot deeper on all of these questions and sort of going through them until you feel like, oh, like that
Okay.
really big, like deep, like, oh, kind of thing.
So that's like fewer questions that you go in deeper and you just like carve around and keep going.
It really depends. Like some people, the questions they come up with, like they're so organized, and we bam, bam, bam through all of them really quickly, and they receive the information in a really efficient way. And other people, the first question they ask wants to have an entire half hour spent on it. It's totally different for people. But I just wanted to mention that too, because like I think sometimes people think it's just like a curiosity thing, like, oh, what kind of cool stuff can I find out about myself? But the thing that I find really powerful about the Akashic Records that I experienced for myself, the reason I kept going with it, is because like huge shifts are available here, huge shifts in perspective that kind of like bypass the traditional modalities of therapy, where they can be complementary, like a lot of people do therapy and things like this, but where you kind of get to that nugget a lot faster than if you're just talking through your feelings.
Absolutely. And I think it has to be like a multi-pronged process. Like if you're if you just do one, like, okay, it's always helpful. It's always better to do something rather than nothing. If you do therapy and nothing else, that's great. But it's like when you're trying to build a better body. It's like you gotta work the big muscles, but you gotta work the smaller muscles too. And you gotta work like the muscles around your certain joints so that all becomes stronger. It's the same thing with like whatever self-care, self-work, bettering yourself. It's like, okay, talk therapy is good for like getting things out, but then Reiki is great because sometimes you have to move like bad energy or like memories or experiences out of your body. Like you store stress a lot in your hips, I think. So sometimes parts of your body will store, I don't know, like bad history or just a bad date or something, get it out. And then like something like this and something like having a chart reading, there's something cool about knowing your past and like what you want for your future. I don't know. I feel like I'm just rambling. Do you? Okay. So there's probably people listening to this going, well, if Amy's been listening to Chrissie's podcast, I mean, she's a public person. You can Google her. Like, I'm just trying to think to the people that are saying everything you've just said. Well, you've Googled it or you knew it in advance. Cause I'm thinking like what the skeptics are thinking right now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's something I can ask you that there's like no way you would know. If I asked you something about my boyfriend, is that too far removed?
No, it depends. I can't read his Akashic records, but I can sort of feel his energy through you.
Ooh, okay. Just because I know that that's not a thing I talk about a lot. So yeah. Okay. Can you, sense anything about our relationship? Like, I wonder if there's something you could sense like about like my and his dynamic, if that makes sense, or
Yeah.
or our strengths together, or like how we complement each other, or something like that. Okay.
So the thing that I'm feeling is he feels like a bit of a worrier. Like he had like things get his goat a little bit and get his brain twisted up a little bit. Like he worries about outcomes that I don't know. They're not even big things, it doesn't feel like, but like he just is one of those worryish kind of people is what it feels like. But he's also a great planner as a result of that.
Yes. He's such a good planner. Yeah.
He balances you well in that sense. Where it feels like the reason I kind of giggle is because it feels sometimes like when he's just worrying about things, almost like being on the verge of like sometimes a little bit neurotic, and you're kind of like, calm down. It's like, oh, this again, sort of slightly impatient about it, but he feels like he has a good handle on it. Like it's not running his life. He's done a good job. Like when he was younger, it feels like it probably was more problematic, but he's kind of figured out how to get a good handle on it. So it's more all in good fun when you're just like, oh, this again, like just relax.
Anxiety. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it feels like an anxious neurosis, sort of like his brain just wants
It's always running.
Control.
Yeah.
And know everything. And you're not burdened by that. And so you complement him really well in that sense. And he complements you really well by bringing sort of an element of groundedness and foresight that you don't necessarily, that's not your strength, is what it feels like. And you complement each other really well, though, because it feels like he has a good sense of humor too, but he's also more serious. And you're way more goofy. And it's a nice, you meet in the middle at your sense of humor.
Yeah, he's hilarious, but it's like, yeah, he's not like a performer, but he understands comedy and appreciates comedians, like gets the lifestyle, whatever, but like funnier and quicker than actual
More, I was
comedians I've
gonna say,
dated.
like a
Yeah.
more of a dry wit. Like he can like hear something and respond to it really quickly, but it's like more of a mental wit. Is that
Yeah.
accurate?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
It feels like a good match, a good, strong pairing.
in the beginning I was like, "Oh no, our sun signs aren't compatible." And that really fucked me
What are
up
your
for
sun signs?
several months. He's a Gemini and I'm a Scorpio.
Oh no, it's true. Oh my God.
I
Gemini and
know. I
Scorpio.
know. And I was like, "Oh no." But I feel like the moons, I think he has a moon in Taurus. And I know the Taurus is like complementary of Scorpios. Like it's like it
Yeah.
brings the groundedness. And it's also he's like very Taurus in terms of like in comfort and like soft things and like stability, I guess. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to like look at his whole chart, but like his Gemini, it definitely he has helped me become a better communicator for sure, and like articulating wants, right? Which was like my challenge growing up, like just never doing that. So that's good. Yeah.
It
And I think
definitely,
like
I was gonna say, it definitely feels like he has something in there that balances out the Gemini though, because he doesn't feel, like a very strong Gemini energy feels flitty and kind of, yeah,
flighty
like
and like
ready to just take off because it suits them. And he definitely feels more centered than that, if that makes sense.
for sure. I've always felt
More
like he's
steady.
not like the classic Gemini that's like, oh, they just like constantly seeking novelty, like,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
air sign, like just flying away. And like he's definitely more like stable and grounded than that. So yeah, I wonder if it's a moon or we'll have to look at the charts. That's very cool. I feel like that was a hard one because you have to like reach.
I love doing that. I love it when people come with relationship questions. It's very interesting. Like now, what I really am interested in is I want to go deep down the rabbit hole with your dad, but I don't.
Yes. Oh, that's still fucking me up, Amy, because like I have jokes. Like I have a joke in my set where it's like, not that I grew up in a naked house, but like my parents were very like my mama always barging in. Like she's barged into my room, me and my sister's room, barging while you're in the bathroom. Like there were no boundaries, there was no privacy. I was like, whatever, because you just get used to it. But I remember like my dad just like didn't care. He wasn't a barger, but he just like didn't care. He'd be in the bathroom just like naked, just like flossing or whatever. And I'd be like a little girl and I'd be like, because we've all seen our like parents
No.
naked, but I do have this joke where I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I was just like a little kid or he's just an adult, but I just remember he had like a big dick. And I don't know if that's because he really, as an adult, has a big piece, or if because I was just little, like I was just, and then the punchline is like, I don't know if it just looked big, like in my little hand. Like that's the joke, is that
Oh man.
which I obviously did not. But to hear you say like past life relationship, like that's starting to fuck me up. Oh my God. Yeah. Weird. That's so weird. That's another really good part of becoming an adult. The idea of your parents kind of like calms down. Like they're not these all-knowing,
Yeah.
wise beings. It's like I'm able to look at my dad and be like, he's just a dude. Like who's limited in many ways and like did the best job at the time with what he had, with his own tool set. So
Yeah, and I mean he's kind of stuck. It feels like he is recycling that energy that might have come from even in a previous life before that, of feeling like his fate was chosen for him and he's pissed about it.
yes.
And
Yeah.
we all do have to just get to a point where we decide to get over it, because life isn't fair, for anyone. But yeah, I totally know what you mean, that like we just get to that point, luckily, where we're like, you're another human being. Like you're my parent also, but you don't have all the magical answers and you are struggling with your own things, and it's what it is.
Yeah. I wonder what you could like pull up about my mom, because if my mom died 2 years ago, And she's somebody where like if she was still alive, like we would still be like very good friends. We were very close. Like she just would call me. That's what I miss most is like she would call me like a few times a week. And she just even if she didn't understand what I was doing, if she didn't like understand what a podcast was, like she still would remember and like give a shit and ask about it. And like, oh my God, this was like after my mom died, I planned this whole like memorial service thing. And one of her friends came up to me, one of her friends, Irene, she said like, yeah, your mom at one point said to me, like, she felt like you were her soulmate. And I was like, it just was like, that really touched me. Cause I was just like, oh man, cause you're dealing with this, like, I love her. I loved her so much, love her currently, and like felt so close. But then at the same time, it was kind of the thing that kept me from going deeper on myself and like getting into my career more and like meeting my own needs. So it's like, I don't know. Yeah, I definitely like tripped myself up because I like, because she died in August. I visited her like the beginning of July. And then I was beating myself up for like not just leaving everything and going to take care of her, but that's the thing is like my dad would have made it impossible. Like he wouldn't have listened to me at all. Like we would have, the times I did go down there, we were fighting. So I don't know. But then you have this guilt, like, oh, I wasn't there for her at the end or whatever.
Those are hard. Those leftover guilt and regrets that we have, those are really hard.
Yeah. But she's still like around. Like she turns on my TV sometimes. Yeah, like my sister and I like to talk about, like my sister's like, she visits me through the microwave. Like we sound fucking crazy. But
they totally do that because it's easier for them to tap into electromagnetic currents, which is why they screw with lights and appliances. It's just easier than like physically knocking something over.
Wow. Yeah. Because it's heavier.
Yeah.
That's wild. I love all that stuff. Okay, cool. Let's see. We definitely have gone long enough. This was very cool. And I wonder if am I missing on like an easy one that you could answer like right away, but I do feel like we have touched on like a few topics. Maybe I'll hit you up later and like pay for a session. We can get into more of my weird dad shit.
It definitely, I can feel there's more there. That's why it's kind of grabbing at me. Yeah.
Oh my God, this is wild. All right. This is great. Amy, you're on Instagram at thenorthstar.love. Anywhere else where people can find you, follow you, or, reach out to you if they would also like to have a reading?
Yeah. The Instagram is the easiest. I find the messages faster. My email, they get lost in because I get all my business emails there too. So they end up on page 7 before I know it. So Instagram is the best place to hear back from me faster. And I have a link tree in my Instagram bio, which most people have not seemed to have found, where you actually can find what I do, what I offer, and you can actually book in from there rather than having to wait for me to respond to you. But other than that, I have a Facebook group. It's called Soul Space. The background is looks like space. Soul Space is in white words, and there's like a gold square or whatever. And people come and join there. It's wonderful. I talk a lot about spiritual and psychic awakening, psychic development, the Akashic Records. I answer a bunch of people's questions about how to develop their psychic abilities. It's just a fun place to be. And I have a podcast called Third Eye Awakening, where basically I first told my whole story because I spent so long thinking I wasn't psychic. It's funny, and what I was actually going through the whole time. And then I also interview people and just have interesting conversations about what they're going through because it's so unique for everybody. So that's a fun place to find me too.
And if somebody's listening to this and they feel like maybe they could be psychic and they would like to grow that sense, but they don't know where to start, like are there any like books you recommend, or would you say just to start meditating, like if it's 5 minutes at a time, like what are some easy?
I definitely think that meditation is a big part of it, and by meditation I mean whatever brings your consciousness mostly into the now moment. It doesn't have to be sitting in stillness and quiet without any thoughts. That doesn't even happen for me very often. And also really just putting it on the front burner of your life. Like for me, it just simmered on the back burner for a long, long, long time. And then when I moved it to the front and started putting a lot of my time and energy into it, it really blossomed. And I think that's like true with anything. It's same with our house plants. If we ignore them all the time and only water once a week and we don't give them any love, then they kind of like thrive or maybe die. But if we like love on them and go and like appreciate them and just look at them and behold them for their beauty, then they really blossom under our attention because our attention is powerful. So I think it's actually super easy to develop our psychic gifts. They're our natural innate being, and we just have forgotten and allowed ourselves to be talked out of it.
Ooh, yes. Okay, that's so exciting. I want to go compliment my houseplants, Amy. Thank you. Girl, you look good. You so green.
Yeah, exactly. Look at those
Amy,
leaves.
thank you so much for coming on. I feel like we just barely scratched the surface. But I feel like this gave folks a good overview of like what you can do and what maybe they can do if they just pay a little more attention to themselves. Thank you so much for coming on, Amy.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was great to have this conversation with you. I loved it.
Yay. Okay. Bye.